you heard of EFT or of tapping and been wondering how you could use it to make your relationship better? Well, I've got you here on today's episode. Hey there, I'm Misty Rappaport, a productivity coach, and here to help you rewire your brain to be more efficient and effective. Today's guests are super funny. They've been accidentally married for 48 years. Literally, they thought it won't last. They went through a lot of challenges, but they've got a really good sense of humor, which I think for sure helped them. Bob, the husband, is a highly successful divorce attorney. Maybe that's why it helped. They managed to make it through. I don't know. And Dr. Katie is a TEDx speaker, and she also is a waffle dissolver using the EFT technique. Thank you so much, Bob and Katie, for being here. I'm excited to be speaking with you. You want to start by telling us how you guys met?
Do you want to tell the story or you want me to?
Why don't you tell?
Okay. I had just moved to San Diego and the neighbor had said, would you like to come to a dance? And I said, well, sure. And it was a dance for naval officers, which I later found out the title of the dance is called, what's it called?
In my stomach.
In your stomach. Stomach is a very common place for things to go. And from 0 to 10, where 0 is like, it's no big deal. And 10 is the most intense you've ever felt an invasion of privacy. Did you say invasion of privacy? And in your stomach. How intense is that feeling right now, this moment?
Right now? Yeah.
The clinical studies that have been done around the world have shown that when they compare cognitive behavior therapy, which is talk therapy, to tapping, also called emotional freedom technique or EFT, to something called EMDR, eye movement desensitization reprogramming, that among the three of those, that EFT and EMDR are way more effective than talk therapy. The difference is with EMDR, you have to be sitting right in front of a trained therapist in case you go into an ab-reaction, and they can help you like come back to the ground. And the thing with EFT is you can do it yourself, or you can work on Zoom with a trained mathematician or your mother.
Super, super cool. This was so much fun. So where could we connect with you, both Katie and Bob, and learn more about you and maybe do some like EFT sessions?
So do you want to tell her where to find you?
Oh, no, I'm fine. You go ahead.
Okay. And you can find me by emailing me at hello@drnall.com. That's HELLO@DRNALL.com, or on my website. I'm a bit of a wordsmith. I have fun with words. Our last name is Nall, Nall. So my company name is my last name followed by the word edge, EDGE. My website is knowledgecompany.com, NALLEDGECO.com, or then call me. I'd love to talk to your audience. I'm at 772-226-0167. That's 772-226-0167. And for anyone, in my stomach, I feel an invasion of space.
In my stomach, I feel an invasion of space.
Thinking about that person that was speaking so loudly in the kitchen.
Thinking about that person that was speaking so loudly in the kitchen.
Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Last time, even though. I remember that person speaking so loudly in the kitchen. And right now, I feel like it was an invasion of space. And I feel it in my stomach. In your kitchen. And they were talking really loudly. And when you think about it now, and you think you were in your kitchen and they were talking really loudly, what emotion is coming up? Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Right here, right now, I feel safe.
And then on the top of your head, you can use your right hand, your left hand, or both. It doesn't matter. And say, that invasion of space in my stomach.
I'm just curious why you're picking 24 to 48 hours while my brain's trying to think of it. Like, why does it have to be something recent?
Okay. And is this a true statement? Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to repeat, I'm going to describe what we're doing for those who may be listening and aren't watching. And if you're driving, don't do this. So we'll start on the side of the hand between the wrist and the little finger.
Does it make a difference which hand?
It doesn't matter. You can use either hand. It doesn't matter. And on the side of the hand, if you tap and say, even though, when I think about the other day, and somebody was speaking loudly in my kitchen who fights all the time and is ready to give up. Bob is the best divorce attorney in town. So says his first wife. And he can be reached at area code 772-770-1500.
Yeah. Awesome. Okay, final question. How would you describe an extraordinary relationship without using love, trust, or connection? Yes. So like in that, I said an invasion of space.
Invasion of space. So I need you to correct me as I make mistakes. Okay, you ready? And he said, you know what? If you connect with the circuits at different points in your body, you're going to be hitting 96 to 98% of the meridians in your body. So you can like clear all kinds of things. So would you like to try it?
Yes, let's do this.
Okay. So I'm going to ask you a whole bunch of questions. Are you ready? It's just that.
I guess invasion of space.
Invasion of space. Okay. And from the top of your head to the bottom of your toes, when you think about invasion of space, where do you feel that invasion of space in your body? If we go too far back, we're going to get into your childhood like that. And, and for an example, it's easier to get to what we call a small T trauma,
yes,
a small irritation. If we get into, I just conducted a training class this weekend, and one of the, I was observing and helping one of the group, and somebody said, we asked, what is something that upsets you? And he started off with, well, children getting physically punished. And I had to interrupt. I said, that is not a small T. That is a capital T trauma, watching children being physically punished. So let's go back and think about a fear of spiders or snakes or something like that. So if you think of something small.
Yeah, sure. So I had someone who was talking really loudly, and I don't like that.
Oh, okay. Where were you when they were talking really loudly?
In my kitchen.
It seems to work for a lot of people. I know it works for a lot of people. It even works for me. So
have you ever done it?
You agree that it works?
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you ever done it, Essie?
I'm a little bit like Bob. My mom, she's not a master trainer, but she's been trained in some of the levels. And like as a little kid, I was like, this is just weird and I don't like it and get out of here and whatever. So that was my grand and total experience with it. But maybe at this point in my life, we should try it again. You want to maybe give a quick explanation what it is for people who don't know what it is, and maybe even give us like a short exercise we could do now.
I was just going to ask you if we could practice. That would be awesome. I love doing that. So tapping is a somatic method. That just means that it works on the body of using tapping on different points of the body and along with words to actually eliminate waffles, eliminate worries, anxiety, fear, frustration, lethargy, exhaustion, and stress. It was developed by an electrical engineer named Gary Craig, who was trained in Stanford, and he saw traditional Chinese medicine meridians that are flowing through the body. He saw them as electrical circuits.
Yes.
That wasn't the first question. Okay. So can you tell me something that's happened in the last 24 to 48 hours that may have triggered your waffles, that may have caused you worry, anxiety, fear, frustration, lethargy, exhaustion, or stress?
It's probably a 3. Yes.
Okay. And when I ask you to repeat words, like just now, I was trying to remember, it was an invasion of privacy. But if I say a word and you're like, no, that's not the right word, or I would say it differently, would you be so kind as to repeat what is true for you?
Was it your speaking loudly in my kitchen?
And I think about it as such an invasion of space.
I think about it as such an invasion of space.
And I feel it in my stomach.
And I feel it in my stomach.
Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Right here, right now, I feel safe.
Now we're going to repeat versions of that sentence 2 more times while we're still tapping on the side of our hand. And we'll say, even though
that invasion of space in my stomach.
And I'm going to warn you, I'm coming in for a close-up. Above your nose on the edge of your eyebrow, that invasion of space in my stomach.
That invasion of space in my stomach.
And again, it can use your right side or left side on the side of your eye, between your eye and your hairline, that invasion of space in my stomach.
That invasion of space in my stomach.
And then where I keep all my bags for a quick getaway, and that's under your eye, that invasion of space in my stomach.
That invasion of space in my stomach.
Under your nose, above your lips, that invasion of space in my stomach.
That invasion of space in my stomach.
Under your lips, that invasion of space in my stomach.
That invasion of space in my stomach.
On your collarbone, you cross your hands, and that invasion of space in my stomach.
That invasion of space in my stomach.
And then thump your ribs on the side, that invasion of space in my stomach.
That invasion of space in my stomach.
And grab, if you have a little bit of water, you can drink some water. The reason why we drink water, Esty, is because what we've done is an effect called piezoelectric, where tapping on our cells actually electrifies the cells. And we know that electricity travels well in water. So the more water we drink, the more that electricity kind of goes through. So I'm going to ask you, thinking about that person that was speaking loudly in the kitchen, in your stomach from 0 to 10, how intense is that feeling now?
Probably like 0.5.
And one of the side effects was that I could fall asleep like that, and 2 adult men could not move me because they tried. It was the strangest sensation. So, but once I went on a gluten-free diet, now I don't sleep as soundly as I used to, because I would be out. You couldn't.
Well, you had anemia.
Well, yeah, celiac affects different people differently. And for me, it was anemia. So I had just completely lost all energy at all. And that was really an interesting time, Esty, what am I going to do? And every time I'd come to him, I'm like, I'm done. I'm finished. I'm out, and I'm taking the kids and your mother. And he's like, you can't take my mother. And I'm like, nope, you got to have her. So really, in many ways, his mother was the son. And then after a while, what was interesting is that every time I was like, okay, that's it. That's the last straw. I would read an article somewhere. I would hear something on the radio. I would see something on TV. I was raised by a single mom who married and divorced 4 times. I knew exactly what I would be getting into if I got a divorce. First thing is your standard of living drops to less than half of what you had before. I mean, I knew what it would have entailed. Hemoglobin level, my iron levels were decreasing, and my energy level was decreasing. I got to the point where I could do nothing. I'd wake up in the morning and I'd look and I'd think, I can either make the bed or I can ride into the office with Bob. At that time, we were working together in his office. I didn't even have the energy to drive. I had to ride with him. And half the time he'd find me under his conference room table asleep because I had no energy. And that was an amazing time. You know, in your wedding vows, they say in good health or poor or whatever. We weren't paying attention to anything they said during the wedding vows.
Well, you didn't think it was real.
Yeah, we didn't think it was a real thing.
Yeah, we thought it was a joke.
We thought it was a joke. We did it for the extra money. And it was really when I was in such poor health that Bob just stepped up. I mean, he just started taking over things that he hadn't done for years. He started doing the laundry, and he just started doing things. And I remember so distinctly going to bed one night, and I was laying there and I was thinking, I can't see a way out. For 6 years, I'd been going to a series of doctors and having one intrusive test after another. And everybody's saying, we don't know what it is. We don't know what it is. And I remember so clearly Bob laying in bed next to me and saying, you know, I can see your hemoglobin level, and I can see it at a healthy 13. And at that time it was
but it works better. You know, if that's my behavior toward my wife, that works a lot better for me, you know. So, and I like the result, you know. So
Totally. Oh yeah, totally. Yeah, I guess you're proof that anyone could work out as long as there's no abuse or something crazy like
Right.
that. Then
Yeah. And I would caution that if there's any kind of abuse, whether it's physical, mental, sexual, whatever, that you should get out. Now, what was interesting, Esty, is that, my whole time I was like looking for an escape plan because I was like, okay, how do I get out of this? And of course, Bob's a divorce attorney. Got as far as to even talk to an attorney because I was always stopped by some other realization that made me actually stop and appreciate what I had.
yeah, yeah. Did you feel, Bob, that you have to do anything, or did you just see a change in Katie and like continued playing in that dance accordingly?
I think that
Yeah, sometimes it just takes that small thing to push you a little more and get
Right.
you moving and tell you where you are today. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I'm just curious. Let's go back to what you were saying about why you always fall asleep.
Oh, why do I always fall asleep? Well, I didn't realize it until just about 12, a few years ago, about a few years ago. I was diagnosed with celiac. And once I realized it was me and that I had the ability to change, I kept waiting for him to change. And when I realized the ability was me to change, it changed the whole game.
and it was hard for me, and it still is hard for me to do, just try to be nice, and not be mean, not be sarcastic, and that was difficult for me to do, and
the lack of support, the questioning, and then whenever you get together, for kids, the weddings, the births, everything else, there's those strained relationships. And it always made me pause and think. So I never really, now that Bob knows me, he knows I don't remember faces at all. And I'm like, yeah, sure. What can I apologize for? And he's like, you stood me up. I'm like, oh, you're the one. And that was 51 years ago.
Oh, wow. 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 Okay. That's a nice long while. And I know that you guys also so cool have this like renewal process where you decide if you want to continue your marriage. You want to tell us about that?
Well, on our 25th wedding anniversary, I thought it would be a lot of fun to renew our vows because when we got married in Las Vegas. And both of us kind of thought it might be, not quite on the up and up because was it an Elvis impersonator or I don't know. It was somebody very strange.
Pretty sketchy.
It was pretty sketchy. So we didn't really think we were married. And by the time our 25th wedding anniversary, we had 3 grown kids. And I said, oh, that would be so sweet. We could renew our vows and we could have our kids there. And this would be so sweet. And he was so generous. He said, that sounds like a great idea. Go ahead. So I started planning on it. And as we started talking about it, he made it very clear that he was not going to be able to come. I was like, but if you don't come, who am I going to get remarried to? So maybe on our 50th anniversary next year, because they have sweet young ladies from San Diego come to the dance. And I met this incredibly good looking naval officer who was just absolutely charming. And he asked to take me out the following Friday. And I said, that would be great. So he drove 30 miles outside of San Diego to come pick me up. Maybe not.
He's making it very clear that he can't come.
I was just lucky to get him to come the first time.
What was it was there like a specific thing that you had on, Bob, that you didn't want to go, or was it like principle of things?
And I was asleep.
Are you serious?
Yes. And he didn't believe it. But then once he got to know me, he realized that I would fall asleep like that. And there's a reason why, I'll tell you later. And so he gave up on me and I was like, darn, that guy was good looking. And so my neighbor invited me to another dance 30 miles in a different direction. And I'm like, yeah, let's go dance. And we went, and this incredibly good looking guy came up to me and said, you owe me an apology. Now,
hog call.
It's called a hog call.
It's not like I have a great enlightenment or anything after a session. but I think it's a different approach, and I always have a difficult time with it because for the entire half century that I've known Katie, she's always been real positive and uplifting and everything like that. But the odd thing about tapping, it's 180 degrees out. You just focus in on negative things, and stuff, and it's just, and I still have difficulty with her doing that. But
I think I'm passing my math class. And I'm like, you are? I don't know who was more surprised, them or me. I was like, this stuff might work. So I went back and I got level 1, level 2, level 3, trauma, quantum, which is past lives. That's a whole nother exciting story. Yeah. You saw that, right? The eye roll. And now I'm a master trainer. It took me 4 years to earn my PhD in mathematics education while I was working full time. It took me 8 years to become a master trainer in emotional freedom technique while I was working full time. But what would happen is I'd go up to perfect strangers and say, I know you have a problem. I can fix it. Let's tap together. And people were like, stand back, lady. What is wrong with you? So I couldn't really tell people about tapping because I would get so excited because it was just so amazing. And so I had to come up another way to describe. And so I would start saying to people, hey, have you ever tried tapping? And they would all want me to dance. I'm like, you don't want me to dance. I'm not a tap dancer. No, this is not working. In fact, that's how I ended up binge watching the entire Gilmore Girls series, because everybody said, oh, is it tap dancing like Rory does? And I was like, no. So I had to watch it to see maybe if she was doing tapping. But when I start telling people, and I wanted to help, at the time I was working at a college, and there were so many students that only had one class left to be able to graduate, and it was always math, which is my subject. I mean, I love math. It's everywhere. It's in art, and it's in architecture, it's in music, it's everywhere. And to have these students be so upset, to have so much fear, so much anxiety about math, just it made me so sick. So I started looking for how do you eliminate fear and anxiety from math. And I was actually going to write my dissertation on that. And that was 2010. And that was when Nick Ortner's second tapping summit was held. And I watched all 10 days. I bought the book, I bought the DVD, and I taught myself. And I had these desperate students. I'm like, look, I have no idea if this is going to work or not, because his tapping summit was all about working on relationships, working on finances, working on addictions, weight loss, smoking addiction, all kinds of things. Nobody mentioned math. Nobody mentioned tests. I'm like, I have no idea if this is going to work or not. So one by one, we work on them and start it. And they came back, Esty, and they were saying,
it's a little, I think it has helped me. But it's one of the things that's kind of like I don't really, I don't know exactly.
That I'm a waffles dissolver, that I dissolve worries, anxiety, fear, frustration, lethargy, exhaustion, and stress. Then I can start talking to them about tapping. So that's how that came about. It was probably a 4 or 5 year kind of search to try and figure out, how do you explain this to people? How do you open them up and get them excited about, what you're doing? And so that's where waffles came from. And Bob still does not think this is a good idea. You don't like it.
Well, no, actually, I love to eat waffles because mostly I like syrup, but I don't like. I don't like your acronym or whatever that is, but it seems to work well for you. So. And a lot of people
how you totally disagree with each other about every single thing. Do you like the tapping EFT method in general?
Do you like the tapping method in general?
I
You want to tell us about that?
So when I was a late in life graduate student going back to school to earn my PhD in mathematics education.
And really get with it. I've been through some tapping sessions led by Katie, and it's a little bit harder if somebody you're close with, like a wife, that you've known a long time, doing that. But I do think it's helped me. certain things that have helped. And I've seen her, the good outcome that she's had with a lot of the people that she deals with. It's a little difficult for me to understand. I don't really know on the renewal of the vows.
I think it was because it was my idea. One lives here in town. Our daughter lives in town with her two daughters. And then we have a son who lives about an hour south of us and down in close to Palm Beach. And then the other son ski-daddled and he's in North Carolina.
Okay, so the other one that's just an hour away is not too far, still right near you.
No.
Yeah. But what advice would you give to someone who is like you, also fighting all the time, but for some reason it's not as funny as it is by you?
What advice would you give anyone that fights all the time? Well, now Bob is a highly respected divorce attorney, which is probably one of the many reasons why we're still married, because he would come home from work and say, "Oh my gosh, I see what's going on. I love you. I love you. I love you. Don't ever leave me." But what advice, because you've seen a lot of people fighting.
Probably just the principle, so yeah, could be.
Do you guys fight a lot?
And now neither one of us are in charge.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They think I'm not kind to you.
You're really rough on me.
Am I?
Yeah.
Mm. The good news is, Esty, is that they all still talk to us. So I count that as a win. And they let us play with their children. So I guess it's not awful.
No, do they live near you?
Yeah, I think it's just.
Yeah.
So do you find that your relationships out of balance, or you're just both still struggling for powers, or by now you've each found their place?
Well, I've given up.
How do you deal with the fights?
Oh, fights? We just deal with them daily. I mean, it's just my sister says she remembers nobody thought that we would last a year, 2 years, 5 years. Because we just fought all the time. Each of us was trying to be in charge. It makes it so much easier if one of us gives up. So What
about if it would have been that you've given up?
Oh, well, I've given up a lot. Have I? No, maybe not.
Well, you think you probably have. So.
I think I probably have. Yeah. But maybe not.
Yeah.
What do your kids think of this relationship?
They think I'm domineering, right? And as I was saying those words, I realized that my face was wet, not with the shower water, but with my tears. And it was at that point, Esty, that I realized that for all of those years, I had been loved by the most important person in my life. No one has ever loved me as much as Bob has loved me. No one. What was it like for you? Yeah. The problem,
how did you continue living together without speaking together to each other?
Well, the problem was his mother, who was a dream. She's like an angel on earth. She lived next door to us, and we paid her, but I used to introduce her as my wife because she would do the laundry, she would clean the house, she would take the kids back and forth. We'd both come home from work and dinner was on the table. It was like a 1950s family. It was amazing. So, we kind of had to hold it together, I guess, for them, but we would kind of sneer at each other and say, "Are you still here?" For about 5 years.
Well, you were busy with work and busy with the kids and stuff. So,
yeah. And
what triggered that? What triggered that, and what helped you get out of it?
Funny story. We were in a bookstore and Bob saw her companion book, which is The Power of Praying Husband. He said, "This looks like a good book." And I was confused because I'm a voracious reader and Bob doesn't read as much.
True.
Okay. But when he said he saw this book and he thought it'd be good, I was like, let's get it. This is going to be great. I read the book and I was like, wow, this is amazing. And so,
wow.
Yeah. So what helped me get out of it was there's a great book by Stormy O'Daniel called The Power of a Praying Wife. Did you notice?
Yeah. Yeah, I did notice. Yeah, I mean, it was good.
Yeah.
I was thankful. I didn't really know why, but I wasn't gonna look a gift horse in the mouth. I mean, it's better than it had been. So
Yeah, it was way better. Yeah. And then Essie, it was then when I realized that it wasn't him, it was me.
Any type of substance abuse or boyfriends, girlfriends, anything like that. So we've never had that. We've never had to deal with that. But still, we've had some pretty tough times.
Oh, we've had some good ones. Yeah. There was a period of about 5 years where we didn't talk to each other.
Are you serious?
I'm very serious. Ask him.
Yeah.
I bought the companion book, which is The Power of Praying Wife. And and I did all the exercises. One of the things they said is to look in the mirror and say what you would love to say. And so I would look in the mirror every morning. The first time I did it, Esty, I could hardly get it out because it was so far-fetched for me. And what came out was, I am deeply loved by my husband, and I deeply love him. And I could barely get those words out as I was looking into the mirror. And I would say them every morning faithfully. And I would say them every morning. And then one morning I was standing in the shower.
You have to be able to communicate with each other. And I know, and we've had the same thing happen with us at some point. I mean, you get to a point where you just can't even talk to each other anymore.
Yeah.
And you just try to power through it somehow. And, we've never had a problem with,
wow. Yeah.
And then
what was it like for you,
Bob? The whole relationship changed from then on.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Totally. Who cooks your food for you now?
Lethargic 4. I just barely could. When I go to the doctor, they'd say, "How did you get in here? You have no energy at all." 2 weeks worth of junk food. Eating. But do you cook, Esty?
I don't enjoy cooking. No, I'm much more of like I like salad. So whatever vegetables are available, I'll just put it together with lettuce or just plain lettuce like that.
That's great. That's great. I'm not even there yet. I mean, it's every now and then we did do we do cleanses from time to time. So we did a 9-day cleanse. And I had to admit that was the only time in my life I remember 9 consecutive days of cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Everyone. I mean, it's sad. I would tell every couple this together, make sure somebody cooks,
Yeah.
We should have done a background check on that.
Well, God. Well, speaking of gluten, you decided to include gluten in your life with waffles.
And Bob says that he's healthier now.
A hematologist in the oncology practice tested her for, he said, "Have you ever been tested for sprue?" And I was with her because she asked me to go, and I'd never even heard the word before, and neither had Katie. And so she says, "Well, no." And so he tested her, and then and I guess that's the test to figure out that you have celiac disease, and so she did, and it was a simple change of her diet, where you don't have no food products with gluten, which basically eliminates a lot of stuff. But she was so sick that she did that and bounced right back.
1 week later.
1 week.
1 week. 1 week, my hemoglobin level, and they said, Esty, that every time I did a treatment, every time I did something, they said it's going to take 3 months for your iron level to change. I'm like, okay, 3 months. So I had to take iron pills for 3 months. I did an iron transfusion where I had to sign a document saying that I might die. The physician had to give me the iron transfusion. He sat there and watched me the entire time to see if I might die. And nothing changed until.
Well, you got to give your physician credit too, because he's the one that made finally she'd had so many medical treatments and was seeing an oncologist and had to have iron transfusions. And they were talking about bone marrow transplants and stuff like that, that finally.
And a few years ago, about 6 or 7 years ago, I decided to go vegan. So I am like no fun to go out to eat with. I do 20 questions to the poor wait staff, and my family just hides their face and they're like, "Oh my gosh." But Bob stepped up, took care of the household, took care of things. And more than that, I mean, encouraged me and gave me that vision of that I could be healthy. And it was that vision that I really, hung on to and made all the difference in the world.
Who cooks your food for you now?
Yeah. But I'm healthy. And when I do go for medical visits, they all say, for my age, especially, nobody. Mom and Nall died in a tragic car accident. It was awful. And then for the next 7 years, we were just, hungry. We were just really hungry.
Because neither one of us cooks.
Neither one of us cooks.
She's a great person, but she is an absolutely terrible cook.
Horrible. And he has no interest in it. So I gave up a few months ago. And there was something in a Facebook neighborhood post about a private chef. And I was like, that's an idea. So this lady comes in for 2 hours and cooks for 2 hours and makes us meals, which turns out to be cheaper than buying because we don't have as much around the house as we did, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you know that to go off gluten?
I went gluten-free, and in 1 week, it was at that magic number that Bob had given me, that magic number of 13. Oh, that's what celiac is. Celiac is a gluten intolerance. And so once they explained that to me, and that's interesting that you ask, I didn't know what gluten was.
No, I've been off gluten also for quite a while for some other things, but yeah.
Yeah. So I didn't even know what it was. So I had to start educating myself about everything. And it's so much easier now than it was. I think it was probably 17 years ago that I was diagnosed. I was in my 50s. And then once I was diagnosed, how did I know what?
To go off gluten. I know you disagree so much about it. We'll have to have another episode.
Well, we disagree. We differ on a lot of on a lot of points, a lot of aspects of our marital partnership. But I think what I do, and I'm not so sure about Katie, but what I do is just.
I don't know about you, but for me, this is the best part of our marriage. And I wouldn't have been able to experience that if I had given up as soon as I did, as soon as I wanted to. What would you say?
I agree.
Being here with us today.
Thank you so much for inviting us. We do appreciate you and all that you're doing to contribute in the world. So thank you. I have a word. Do you have a word?
No.
My word would be persistence.
Ew.
Just stay in the course. Just stay with it. There were many times where I know Bob did not love me. So persistence.
You don't have anything different to say?
And I'm sure there were times where I did not love him. And there were times that, we weren't happy. But I will say now that the kids are gone, they're out of college, they're contributing members of society, and we have grandkids coming.
Stick with it, and try to adapt. I mean, if I'm doing something that irritates her, I try to back off and be nicer, which is a chore for me a good bit. But but I know, and I think you appreciate that. So
I think having a good sense of humor helps a lot too. Yeah. I mean, we have to laugh at a lot of stuff. I don't know if we ever laugh at our fighting. Sometimes we laugh at our fighting because it's so.
I think a lot of other people laugh when we are.
We
fighting,
entertain a lot of people with our fighting. Oh my gosh, my sister in particular. Yeah, it's bad.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Katie and Bob. This was fun, and I appreciate you being here with us today.
That's all for this episode of the Life Picks University podcast, but I have a huge favor to ask of you that will not only support the show, but will also help the people you love most. We are striving for 1 million downloads by the end of 2025, and we can't do this without your help. If you love this episode, please share it with 2 of your family and friends so they too can rewire their brains to have an extraordinary marriage. It was awesome spending time with you, and I'll see you on the next episode.